Welcome back to Mobility Prosthetics YouTube. Today we are reviewing the new Ossur Navii knee. I've been on this knee now for off and on. We've been doing demos and everything, so I've been kind of trading it back and forth, but I've been on it for about a week and a half. And you know, with all the reviews I've been doing lately, especially in these kind of K3 category, this knee's pretty cool, and I think it has some things that kind of set it apart, and it's been fun to kind of learn about. So I'm excited to go through some of its features with you. So first things first about Navii, it comes with a IP68 waterproof rating, so it's up there in that higher category of waterproofing, dust proofing. You know, you can submerge this, and I would never do that, but you can submerge it. It's designed for that. Another thing, it comes with 72 hours of battery life. Like I said, I've been kind of wearing it intermittently, so I haven't like worn it and really worn down the battery to see really how long that is, but I've gotten 2-3 full days in on it, and I haven't really pushed it far to that like end of battery life limit. So I think that's probably pretty true. 72 hours, maybe even a little bit more if you use the power button, because there is a power button. If you turn it off, you know, when you're not being super active, when you're sitting or when you go to sleep or whatever it is, you can stretch that battery life. And so having that power button is a big bonus. Also, Ossur, one thing I really like about kind of their philosophy and how they go about things, like, you know, the charging port to me is not a big deal. I don't like, there's knees that are coming with USB-C, like that's cool, but it's really low on my list of things that I actually care about. Like, I just care about it being charged rather than the USB-C. So like, you know, USB-C is helpful for charging, but one thing I really like about Ossur is that all of their plugs are the same. So it doesn't matter if you have a Navii knee, a power knee, a Rio, a Proprio foot, all of those plugs are going to be the same to charge the device. And that to me just makes things simpler. It's, you know, there's other companies that each device is a different type of plug that charges, and it's nice that this one is just keep it simple. I don't care what the plug is, just keep it so that all of your things are the same, and that makes it a lot easier, you know, for the patient if you are using a lot of the Ossur products. But as from, you know, a clinical standpoint, it's nice for us to just be like, we've got an Ossur charger and it charges everything, rather than we've got, you know, a charger for this knee and a charger for this knee and a charger for this knee, and we lose them. You know, that's more behind the scenes stuff, but practitioners out there, you know what I'm talking about as far as like trying to track down plugs and charge things, it can be frustrating at times. So it's nice that it's all just one. Another thing that I really like about it is that it comes with this black protective cover, which as a patient, it's super easy to take on and off. It just has this magnetic clip on the back, so you can see that's like really strong. And so that's really nice. Like, it's easy for me, again, as a user, to just pop this on. It clips around the sides here at the top, and then it's on and ready to go. Cool thing about Navii is on top of the black cover that you get that comes with the knee, they're also just giving away a colored cover. So you can see here there's green, blue, red, white, and then black. You could have 2 black ones. But you know, having like just a little bit, and again, it's easy for like the patient to put it on and off. So like, if I wanted to go, you know, just be a little different and have a white one or a red cover, and like, I think that that's something really cool. And that's something that, you know, probably at the end, I'll talk a little bit about Ossur and what I think about them as a company. But that's something that kind of just, you know, they're doing a little bit extra for the patient, and that means a lot to us as users for sure. And so I like that. So those are like some quick basics about the knee. I kind of want to talk about my experience with different Ossur products compared to this Ossur product. So I've done demos on Rio XC, Power Knee, and this foot that I'm wearing is my low profile ProFlex with torsion, just for reference. But so I've walked a lot of Ossur's products, and every time that I walk them, you know, there's always the alignment difference, which makes a big difference, especially if you're coming from, you know, an Autobach knee that is designed to be set up behind your socket and you know, designed to be safe, whereas this is not designed to be less safe or more dynamic. It's just a different system, and so the alignment is much more dynamic. Where my socket is coming down through the back third of the foot, and even this alignment could be optimized a little bit more. And so that's different, and it takes a little bit of time to, like, just as a user, get comfortable like seeing the knee in front of me rather than behind me, and knowing that I'm going to be safe. But really what I've noticed when demoing things is like, and this is true for every prosthetic, but if you don't get it aligned right, it's not going to function. And so getting the alignment right on these things is critical. But once you have the alignment right, I still, like, I wear an X3 in everyday life, and so I haven't really stepped onto a Rio or a Rio XC, and I'm like, man, this feels good. I'm being honest. Like, I don't love, there's kind of like a clunkiness in Rio XC or a choppiness, and some of that is alignment, but some of it also is like just the fluid that is in there and the technology that's being used. And like, you know, Rio and Rio XC are good knees. I'm just saying that for my personal preference, I haven't liked them a lot. Navii, on the other hand, I got the alignment right, or, you know, in the ballpark, and it has been a lot smoother and a lot more intuitive and responsive than really any other Ossur product I've been on before. I've, you know, done a little bit of a deep dive, just baseline into the engineering, and I know, if you know anything about the technology that is in Ossur products, it's not hydraulic, it's a fluid in there, and so the fluid in there is thinner, so it's more responsive, it has more iron, so it responds faster, and everything. So the technology is, like, I would say, even walking on it, you can feel that, like, they took some things, like, very minimal, a couple things from like Rio XC and Rio, and they applied them to this, but then outside of like those little things, this does feel like a new system. It feels like something kind of different. And you can kind of see, if I take the cover off, this is more of a manufacturing, like, clinician side of things, but you can see there's like 3 sections here. So the knee is modular. So, you know, in the past, if you've had to have an Ossur product serviced, it has to be sent out of the country and serviced somewhere else and then sent back, and it takes time and everything else. Whereas with this being modular, it makes it so they can fix things a lot faster. They can swap one piece out, send it to just back east rather than across, you know, seas, and so that allows, you know, for quicker turnaround time. Hopefully, is the thought, I think. But it is a cool knee. There's so a couple other things outside of like just that basic stuff. You know, as far as Ossur goes, they always are going to have your hard manual lock. So the difference here, I'm going to leave this cover off for a little bit. The difference on the other Ossur products is on the other Ossur products, you have extension lock. So I'm fully extended, which means my knee is completely locked out, and then I push that button, that manual lock has me locked. There's no way I can go anywhere on this, right? And if I try to walk too, it's not going to swing, like, because it's a manual lock. So then if I want to go back, I just have to lock that and it swings. Now Navii, so that's pretty standard on Rio XC power knee. Navii can lock at 3 different positions. So I'm going to go really deep here just so we can find it, because I don't know the exact angles. So I'll lock it there, my button's pressed. Now as I work back up, there's a click. So I have that at whatever, you know, flexion degree angle that is. And then there's another click. I have that's in between. And then there's my fully extended. So you have 3 angles that you could lock at. And that's nice. Like, you know, if you've watched some of these videos, you know that I really like having a functional flexion lock where I could just stand and relax. And that's been kind of a downgrade when I'm trying Ossur products in the past, because it's like I use that to take a break. And so not having that is like, even now you can see I start to drift and things like that. But if I just, you know, push that, that's not a big deal. That's not hard for me to do. If I go to full extension, I'm locked again, you know, and then but it just is, it's a little bit, it's one extra step as far as like those locks go, but it's really not that big a deal. And it's nice that I can stand flexed and comfortable and do what I need to do. And then if, I know that it's firmly locked, and then I can unlock it and just go back to my day. So this does have, a standard stumble recovery where if you scuff your toe or anything like that, it's going to stiffen so that you can catch yourself. Um, and that is pretty similar in a lot of ways to most NPKs. It does have a walk to run. I'm not going to demo that because I just can't. I'm just not good at it. It has walk to run. It has a intuitive cycling, so it starts pedaling. It recognizes that you're pedaling. It recognizes that you've got off and you're starting to walk again. And so all of those things are really nice. It does do stance knee flexion, so you can get that good kind of soft impact and then get back fully extended. And I've talked a lot about that in other videos, and maybe a video that hasn't come out yet. But this is really like something that I think more transfemorals should be walking with and using. It was scary for me in the beginning, and once I understood what it was for giving me, a soft terminal impact. Really, I was trying to find like, man, I land so hard, everything's hard up and it's uncomfortable. Can I get a vertical shock foot? And I got a vertical shock foot, and all of a sudden it started to throw my knee into like a ramp descent yielding function all the time, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I realized because my shock was down here and I would land, I would compress that shock, but then my weight was still behind the knee, so it would start sending me into that motion. And that's when I started to realize I don't want shock down at my ankle. I want shock at my knee. And that is what stance knee flexion gives you. It gives you that kind of soft loaded impact and then extension and back to a nice rollover. And so once I started walking with that and using it more, getting more comfortable using it, man, it has made a difference on my back, my hips, immensely. It makes a big difference. And really, one of the things that I haven't loved about Rio and Rio XC is the stance knee flexion. It always felt not super supported, or it wasn't quite as smooth as I wanted. This thing is really nice, and with the app, the Ossur Logic app, you can really dial these settings and get it so that the patient feels comfortable in every situation. And I'm going to talk about the app more, but I really like the app, and I really like the setup and how simple it is through the app on this knee and any knee. That is probably what I like the most about Ossur stuff. We'll talk about the app now. So Ossur Logic is the clinician app. I think it's got to be the clinician app. That's the only one I've used. There's got to be a patient app. Maybe they're both the same. I should ask about that. But through the clinician app, there are so many settings that you can go through. And for me, as a user, somebody setting up a knee by myself, I love that there is so much that I could go through. You can go through and change when you want the knee to start swinging and what angle that's going to be at and everything. Same stuff that we do a lot, but it's just easier, more intuitive, and more in detail in Ossur Logic than it is in some other knee apps. And then also on top of that, I know the clinicians that I work with don't have time to go through every single setting a lot of the times. And also the patients don't have the experience to give the feedback and understand what they're feeling for and everything else to get it all dialed in. And that's where, the Ossur Logic auto adjustment makes a world of difference. And, with me testing knees all of the time, I'm going through their softwares all of the time, and the Ossur Logic auto adjustment gets as close to the settings that I actually want. I usually don't, I always change things. That's just my personality. I want to tweak it. I want it to get just a little bit better here and here. And so I always change things, but I notice on my Ossur setups, I'm always a lot closer to those suggested settings than I am on some other knees. Some other knees, it gives me a suggested setting and I'm way out of there. And so I think that Ossur Logic gets it really close and really accurate, and sets it up pretty well and makes it easy for the practitioner. Another thing that I really love about the Ossur app is just the training modules and different ways. I've used it in physical therapy, helping physical therapists through appointments of, you know, this patient is understanding that they're not centered and they're not having weight evenly distributed. They feel like they are because they're transfemoral and everything feels high and it feels like I'm pushing a lot of weight in there. But really, if I can show them on the app that they're 75 to 35, and the app shows that. It'll show you exactly how much weight is on each side. It has a bunch of different training things in there that are helpful for the patient and also for the clinician, physical therapist to kind of figure out like what the knee's trying to accomplish. And so I really, really like the Ossur Logic app. So Navii can do stair step over step. It's for a K3 knee that can do stair step over step. It's as easy and as comfortable as really anything else I've felt. I would say the only thing that I struggle with a little bit, and this is just a learning thing more than anything, is I want it to end flexed a little bit more. I want a higher angle. So like instead of it being here, you know, like 110, whatever angles that is, I wish it was closer to 90 so that I was landing more like that and could push up. And the only reason is because that's what I'm used to doing. And so when I'm practicing stairs a lot of times, especially in the real world, you know, sometimes if I'm doing it fast, I'll end up just kicking the stair in front of me because I'm just used to having it a little bit more flexed. And that really is like the one parameter that you don't have control of through the app. Everything else you have a lot of control of. That's the one thing. And really, I'm probably like one of the only people that would say that would bring that up. It is just like from a user standpoint, the more you practice, the easier it all gets and the better it gets. Another thing that I really like about Navii, and this is probably like my favorite thing about Navii, is stair descent coming down. It's the most controlled I've felt from a device that is a microprocessor. It's as smooth and controlled as it gets. And so we'll show it obviously rather than me just talking about it. But really, you know, if you look at the Ossur marketing, it's designed to be easier to engage this yielding motion. But then as you get to a higher angle, it ramps up its stiffness. So I can really control and stay on that knee a long time. And really how I figured that out was don't do this, but like this just kind of shows how good the knee is at stair descent. It's like I could skip that stair and still ride down all the way, and it's super comfortable. Again, I don't think I've felt anything that is that controlled. You just saw me kick the stair. That's me practicing. But as far as stair descent goes, there's nothing that is like that controlled that I can skip that step and still make it work. Right here, we'll just give another angle of stair descent and skipping a stair, just because I think it's worth seeing, because it is, again, I haven't really felt something that controlled. These are shorter steps, but you can kind of see that slamming on my sound side is gone. And again, I'm skipping a stair. I could probably on these steps skip 2 stairs and ride it all the way down. And at our tallest stairs, I'm just skipping that one. So that really gives a good idea of like, man, that thing controls you all the way down. And that's really nice. So that's the new Navii from Ossur. I need to find out if Navii is a reference to Avatar. Did somebody high up at Ossur or the engineer, are they big Avatar fans? Why didn't we make it blue? You know, I need to find that out. But it's a pretty impressive knee. I think that it is like pushing up into that like K4 category, but still coded out as a K3 and functional and safe for a lot of demographics. Like I said, I really like the stair descent is as smooth and controlled as anything I've felt, and as cool as it is that it can do stair ascent and that is really easy and controlled as well. How many of us are using that in our daily lives? I mean, like I know that the only reason that I do it is because I test devices, you know, pretty regularly that I need to be able to do that function and make sure that they can. But if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't be using it as often. And so I practice using it because I know I'm gonna have to test stuff. And so I do stair step over step every day. but I know a lot of people don't. And so as cool as that is, that stair descent like really makes a big difference. I also, one thing that I really like, and it's more common in these higher class knees, but the dampness stiffnesses are separated. So my sitting stiffness and my stair descent stiffness and my stance knee flexion stiffness are all three separate parameters. So I like walking with my stance knee flexion stiffness really high, so I can sink into that knee and it's bent, but I know that it's gonna hold me. But then if I try to go downstairs at that same stiffness, it's gonna be way too high. It's gonna throw me forward. I won't be able to do it. I won't be able to use it to sit down. And so having those three stiffnesses separated out makes a big difference, and that is something that I really like. A little bit just about Ossur, like with the cover and just different things. I feel like, the people at Ossur and the company of Ossur as a whole, it feels like they care about the people that they're making these for. And like that's a small thing, and it's not even something that I can like quantify and say like this is why. I mean, like the cover is like a little bit of a reason, but it's just like their whole kind of philosophy and culture as a whole, to me, feels like, oh, they care about who they're serving, and so that goes a long way too. I think that this knee like really is, if you have somebody in that K3 category that wants function and is looking for function, this thing is killer. I think the only like real downside to it is that it is a little heavy, and you can notice that weight. So if you're a lighter person, maybe a little smaller, I think that weight probably would affect you. If you're somebody, more just like me, kind of in the average like body type, then the weight you might notice a little bit, but after time it goes away, and the knee does a lot for you. So like I haven't noticed that weight taking a lot of energy away from me or anything like that. It's just a little noticeable in the beginning, and I would say that that's probably like its biggest drawback, is just a little bit of a weight. But outside of that, like I am really impressed with it, and especially coming from other Ossur devices, this is new and it feels like kind of a jump ahead, and so that's really, that's nice. It's nice to have another option in that K3 category that is super functional, and I've enjoyed wearing it. If you want to get a demo, reach out to your prosthetist, reach out to your Ossur rep. I'll put more info in the description with a link to the Navii web page. If you have any questions about it, if you're a clinician, you have questions about it, you're a patient, you have questions about it, feel free to reach out. Here's my email there. And other than that, we'll see you next time. Thanks.